kitchen towel and use a knife to cut the kernels from the cob. Using this method, the corn kernels won't end up all over your kitchen, and you won't have any cleaning to do at the end, which is always a bonus. The corn kernels are not needed for this recipe, and you can use them for any corn-based dish you desire, or to make a deliciously creamy corn soup that we will be sharing next. Now to the cobs. For the sake of feeling like a bodybuilder, break the center of the cob into 2 parts. We feel we should mention that this process has absolutely no effect on the final result of the recipe. Place a pot large enough to accommodate all the ingredients onto a medium heat, tip in the cobs, the roasted leaves, the water, and stir the ingredients. The roasted leaves will soon rehydrate and become soft. Bring the liquid to the boil, cover the pan with the lid, turn the heat to the minimum, and cook the ingredients for 30 minutes. Once the cooking time has elapsed, turn off the heat and let the stock cool down completely before moving on. Once the stock is cool, simply strain it using a fine mesh sieve to complete the recipe. After this step, you will end up with a super aromatic stock that will lend roasted corn notes to any dish you desire. I like to use this flavorsome liquid to cook grains, to make broths, and also in Today we'll prepare some crunchy, moist and decadent vegan brownies, gluten-free and lip-smacking chocolate banana bites, an opulent rice pudding served with chocolate and spice caramel sauce, our own spin on the all-time favorite banana bread, a healthy twist on the fabulous Italian tiramisu, and some gorgeous strawberry muffins. Have you ever been under the impression that vegan cuisine is boring? Time to think again. Welcome to the Vegan Corner. This was a tough one to develop, but it was all well worth it when we took the first bite. As you can probably imagine, making brownies without butter, eggs or chocolate is no easy task, but being the thrill seekers we are, that is exactly what we are going to do today. The first thing to do is to preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, which is about 355 degrees Fahrenheit. And when a recipe starts like this, it means that it's going to be easy, fast and scrumptious, of course. Now sift all the powders into a medium-sized bowl. This will break all the lumps created during the handling and storage of the flour. Next, add all the other ingredients into the bowl and stir well to complete the batter. And yes, I did just say complete the batter. A brief note on the ingredients. First, feel free to use any sugar you desire, as it really makes no difference here. Second, small coconut flakes are best, but if you do have larger ones, roughly chop them to make them of a more suitable size. Or you could always eat 1/2 of every flake, but that's a whole lot of effort, and it's not overly hygienic, right? Now pour the batter into a cake pan and bake for 20 minutes in the preheated oven, remembering to rotate the pan halfway through the cooking time. You can grease the pan if you desire, as the final brownie will be much easier to remove from the pan, but for the sake of not using any oil, we simply used a silicone pan, which by the way is 8 inches large and 1.5 inch deep. By now you should be speechless and maybe even drooling. But if you are still unconvinced by this recipe, give those delicious brownies a try and all will soon become clear. And now, let's move on to the next recipe. Not only can this recipe be prepared in minutes, but it is also guilt-free after you eat an entire box of what we decided to call chewy banana bites. You want to do is to roughly chop the bananas into a medium-sized bowl. Make sure that they are ripe and have a delicious smell, which is always a good sign when it comes to fruit. Now thoroughly mash the bananas with a fork. Next, add the oats and the cinnamon to the bowl and mix well to combine the ingredients. Finally, add the chocolate buttons and stir one last time to complete the batter for this amazing fruity treat. If you're not a massive fan of chocolate, don't worry, simply substitute it with raisins and the banana bites will come out just as delicious, I promise. Now preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, which is about 355 degrees Fahrenheit, and get ready to divide the batter into portions. Simply spoon the batter onto an oven tray, making sure you do so in portions of equal size, or they won't cook evenly. There isn't really a perfect shape for these treats, and if you want my professional opinion, I'd say that the uglier they are, the better they taste. Bake the chewy banana bites for 20 minutes, making sure to rotate the tray halfway through the cooking time. Can this recipe be already finished? Indeed it can. As you already know, we always strive to make dishes that are easy to make and even easier to eat. And in this particular case, we really nailed it. To be honest, I still haven't found a sweet recipe as rewarding as this one. It's gluten-free, it's sugar-free, yet it still yields incredible results every time. That's pretty impressive, right? What we are offering you here is our vegan recipe for a heavenly and delicious banana bread. We really recommend you have a go at this and help us confirm that it is indeed quite special. First and foremost, preheat the oven to 340 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 170 degrees Celsius. Then, roughly chop the bananas, which you already know should be properly ripe, and place them into a bowl. Now thoroughly mash the bananas with a fork to obtain a thick puree. You don't want any solid piece of bananas in here, as they will prevent the bread from rising evenly. Add in the sugar, the non-dairy milk, the cinnamon, and stir well to incorporate them. You can now start adding the flour and mixing it. We like to add it in 3 times to make sure it disperses properly before adding more. Whilst you're adding the second part of the flour, you can also tip in the baking powder. At the end of this process, you want to obtain a homogeneous batter. Banana bread is renowned for being both heavy and dense. Simply Google banana bread and have a look at the images for proof of this. One of the secrets to prevent this from happening is to make it small. A 2 pounds 900 grams banana bread needs roughly 70 minutes of cooking time, and it is way denser than a 1 pound 450 grams banana bread that needs 35 minutes of cooking time, which is way denser than a half a pound 225 grams banana bread that takes roughly 15 minutes to cook. However, at that size, it doesn't really look like a bread anymore, does it? Anyway, grease a 2 pounds 900 grams loaf pan, pour in the batter and level it with a spatula. You do want to grease the pan, as the alternative is spending hours on end removing the bread from the pan. Now to the topping. Cut a few half an inch, roughly 1 centimeter slices of banana and then cut them in half. Press the banana pieces lightly into the batter, creating the design you desire. This will allow for the surface to crack during the cooking process, yielding a more appealing final bread. Once that's done, you can pop the pan into the oven and start counting the cooking time. You want to cook this beauty for 70 minutes, rotating the pan every 10 minutes to allow for even browning and cooking. A couple of important things to mention are that firstly, you need to remember to pierce the final cake with a toothpick to ensure it is cooked. If it is indeed cooked, the toothpick will come out dry and with no mixture on it. Secondly, 70 minutes of cooking time really is a lot and will likely be enough to burn the surface of the bread. To prevent this from happening, remove the bread from the oven after 40 minutes of cooking time and cover it with aluminium foil. This will shield the heat radiation coming from the hot element of the oven, hence preventing the surface from burning. And after 70 minutes of cooking time, you will end up with an amazing low-fat banana bread. Honestly, could you ask for more from a low-fat vegan recipe? But don't just take my word for it. Try this recipe and you'll see for yourself how good it tastes. This tutorial is for an easy-to-prepare rice pudding served with gingerbread caramel and chocolate sauce. You heard me right. Rice, chocolate and spiced caramel together, in vegan form. This is going to be a massive treat. First of all, we are going to start with the easy part, the sauces. Let's begin with the caramel. Place a saucepan over a medium heat, add in the sugar and the water and bring to a boil. Every now and then, gently shake the pan so that the temperature of the liquid rises uniformly. Once the syrup has reached an amber color, turn off the heat. On the side, mix the yogurt with the milk and the spices, add it into the pan and start stirring immediately to obtain the caramel. If you are not quick enough, part of the sugar might not dissolve into the liquid. In this case, simply place the caramel back onto a low heat and stir until completely dissolved. Now to the chocolate sauce. On the side, mix all the ingredients together and then pour them into a saucepan. Turn on the heat to medium and start stirring. Stir constantly until the liquid reaches the boiling point and then turn off the heat. And just like that, you have yourself the most amazing and luscious low-fat chocolate sauce. To prevent the skin from forming on top of the sauce, cool it down by submerging the pan into cold water and stir until cold. And now that the easy part is done, let's move on to the super easy part, the actual pudding. Pour the milk into a saucepan followed by the sugar, the rice and a few strips of lemon zest. Feel free to use different flavorings if you want. Orange, lime and vanilla work perfectly. Now turn on the heat on medium and bring the liquid to a gentle simmer. Once the liquid begins to boil, turn the heat down to low and start counting the cooking time. Gently simmer the rice for 30-40 minutes, stirring every now and then. During this time, the liquid will be absorbed and the rice will end up perfectly cooked. Once finished, simply spoon the rice into the desired serving dish and drizzle it with both caramel sauce and chocolate sauce. Make sure to serve this dessert whilst it's still warm, as it tends to thicken when it cools down. And here you have the final dessert, with its intense and complex aroma. As soon as your mouth comes into contact with the combination of chocolate, caramel and sweet rice, the most amazing flavor will explode into life. Now let's move on to the next sweet treat. This recipe is epic. It's tiramisu. This dessert is so appreciated that we decided to dedicate our heart and soul, or more accurately, our hands and mind, to develop a vegan version of this delicious treat. We are sure you'll be impressed by the final results. The first thing we are going to do is to prepare the sponge to be used as a base for the dessert. So preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit. Now simply place all the dry ingredients for the sponge into a bowl and whisk them properly. Add in the milk and whisk once again to complete the batter. If for some reason your index finger unintentionally ends up into the batter and then accidentally ends up in your mouth, you'll have the pleasure of tasting how good this no-fat vegan batter is. The batter is now ready to be poured into a cake pan, which can be either greased or lined with greaseproof paper, depending on how much time you are planning to spend removing the sponge from the pan. Bake the sponge for 10 minutes in the preheated oven to complete the base for the tiramisu. Before the sponge is removed from the oven, test it with a toothpick. If it's cooked properly, the toothpick will come out dry and without mixture on it. Remember to leave the sponge to cool down completely before cutting it into 1 cm cubes, or roughly half an inch. Let's move to the filling now, and we are going to place the sugar, the starch, the turmeric, the oat milk, the coconut milk and the vanilla extract into a saucepan. Turn on the heat on medium and whisk the ingredients to properly combine them. Now take a spatula and start stirring the mixture. Stir constantly until the mixture comes to the boil and thickens, and at this point you can turn off the heat. To prevent the formation of the skin on top of the filling, you can either keep stirring it every few minutes until it cools down, or submerge the pan into cold water and stir until the mixture becomes cold. As soon as the mixture is cold, you can build the final dessert. Start by placing a layer of diced sponge into your favorite vessel. Then pour some coffee over the sponge. Be generous with the coffee, as it is a fundamental component of the tiramisu flavor. Next, spread the layer of the filling over the sponge. There is no need to be an artist here, but if you have a pastry bag, this task will be particularly easy to accomplish. The final touch is to dust the surface of the dessert with enough cocoa powder to cover it completely, and the tiramisu is ready. And there you have it. I'm pretty sure that you were able to gauge how delicious this dessert is by simply looking at the video. But if that's not enough, it might be time for you to dash to the kitchen and start preparing. You will never again doubt that following a vegan lifestyle is just as easy and tasty as any other. And now to the next tutorial. Did you think we'd miss the opportunity to offer you a recipe for muffins? Well, if you did, think again, because here it is. With strawberries. The amazingly soft texture and delectable flavor combination makes them one of the most delicious vegan recipes I've ever tried. This recipe is another of the really easy ones, which you could probably make even blindfolded. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius or about 355 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove the stems from the strawberries and cut the fruits into small pieces. We are using small strawberries here, so cutting them into quarters seems to be about right. Now take a large bowl and add in the sugar, the agave nectar or any other similar vegan liquid sweetener, and the non-dairy milk. Stir well to combine before sifting in all the powdered ingredients and stirring again to complete the batter. You see, what did I say about the difficulty of this recipe? It is basically the perfect recipe for all the people like us who are really good at throwing things in a bowl and stirring them. It's simply amazing. Now, to avoid making a mess, we use a muffin tray lined with cupcake silicone cases. This will help to remove the muffins from the tray and will also make a nicer and more appealing final dessert. Now add 1 tablespoon of the batter in each container and place a few pieces of strawberry over the batter. Sprinkle some cinnamon powder over the fruit and cover with another tablespoon of the batter. Make sure to leave some space between the batter and the edge of the molds. This will allow the muffins to rise freely and evenly. Now simply bake the muffins for 15 minutes, making sure to rotate the tray halfway through the cooking time to allow for even browning and rising. And here you have the final muffins, ready to keep you warm and relaxed during a cold day, possibly together with a nice cup of your favorite infusion. They really do look delicious, don't they? We hope you enjoyed this rather sweet episode of the Vegan Corner. Make sure to watch the rest of the series for more delightful and tantalizing vegan preparation.
Il tutto si riduce sempre a due persone. La coppia divina. Uno vivrà e uno morirà.
My heart to your kitchen. Arrivederci.
That looks good.
Why don't you go ahead and have a taste?
Now let's see how we take this basic springboard idea and see what...
See, it should have been ladies first. Oh, I guess it was. Okay, here I go. Washing my hands. And now we make delicious, wonderful, happening, fabulous meals from things we have in our cupboard, in our fridge, in our corner store in about half an hour or so.
This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor.
One of our favorite homemade drinks are dairy-free milks, coconut milk in particular. The problem we find with coconut is its natural fat content, which is exceptionally high. But don't fear, today we will be showing you something different. By following just a few simple rules, you will find yourself with some top quality fat-free coconut milk. You can either enjoy the milk as it is, or use it for any recipe that may require it. Keep watching the video to find out the best way to prepare this delicate drink. To begin with, place the water and the coconut into a container. Mix the ingredients well with a spatula and let them rest for 1 hour at room temperature. This will ensure the coconut softens slightly and releases every ounce of flavor into the water in the next stage. Once the time has elapsed, place the ingredients into the blender's jug and blend at high speed for roughly 45 seconds. During this time, magic will happen and the coconut's flavor will diffuse into the water to create the final beverage. Due to the absence of emulsifiers, which are found in dairy-free milks you find in the supermarket, all of the naturally occurring coconut fat will not emulsify with the water. As a result, it will yield a final fat-free drink. Of course, the recipe doesn't end here, because we still have to strain the liquid through a fine sieve to remove any undesired solids. Here we are using a super bag as usual, but the exact same results can be obtained with a fine mesh sieve or a wet muslin cloth. Once all the solids have been removed, cover the container with cling film and store in the fridge overnight. During this time, the fat will rise to the surface of the drink, and being most of it saturated, it will become hard and easy to remove from the surface. And there you have it, the fat-free version of one of the best smelling and tastiest drink ever made available to mankind. You can of course use the same procedure to make this beverage out of fresh coconut if you so desire, but we just wanted to give you the option to make it with some desiccated coconut, as it's easier to get hold of. It's summer and the temperature is scorching. Fortunately for us, the world is full of delicious refreshing drinks for us to enjoy, such as tiger nuts milk. So today we bring to your attention this amazing beverage, which is vegan, dead easy to make, and by far the best tasting non-dairy milk we have ever tried. Oh, and it also happens to be raw, unless you cook it of course. To begin with, thoroughly wash the tiger nuts to remove the dirt that might be present on the surface. These delicacies are actually tubers, but they are more commonly associated with nuts due to their similarities. Place the tubers into a bowl, cover them with plenty of cold water, and let them soak for 18 to 24 hours so that they have the chance to soften a bit. Once the time has elapsed, drain the tiger nuts, tip them into the jar of a blender, and add the water of the recipe into the jug. At this point, you simply want to blend the ingredients at high speed for 2 minutes to complete the process. Now, you should have in front of you a sort of very thick liquid that can be easily strained using a wet muslin cloth or a nut milk bag. This will help you to obtain the final milk. This milk is better suited to be used as a drink, because if cooked, it will thicken up due to its starch content and most of its flavor will be lost. And here is the final milk, smooth, rich, and with a perfectly balanced nutty taste. All that remains to be done is to enjoy it with some ice, a pinch of cinnamon, and some sugar if desired. As you are certainly aware, there are plenty of non-dairy milks available for us to enjoy. However, a lot of us don't have access to them for one reason or another, or simply find them to be ridiculously expensive. Well, since we really care about both your health and your pockets, here we are, sharing with you the recipe for a delicious almond milk. To begin with, place the almonds into a container, then pour in enough water to cover them completely and place the container in the fridge for 4 to 8 hours. During this time, part of the bitterness present in the skins will dissolve into the water, allowing you to obtain a milk with no bitterness whatsoever. If using blanched almonds, you won't have this problem, but I wouldn't skip the soaking process anyway. In fact, during this time the almonds will get softer and easier to blend, which means that you will get a more nutritious final milk. Once the time has elapsed, drain the almonds and discard the water. You can now tip the almonds into the blender and add in the water from the recipe. At this point, blend the ingredients together at the highest speed for roughly 1 minute. It is better to use cold water during this step, so that the liquid doesn't get hot during the blending stage, keeping the nutrients intact. To strain the milk and remove the excess pulp, you can either use a nut milk bag, a wet muslin cloth, a fine mesh sieve, or even a clean kitchen towel. Your choice. You definitely don't want to discard the remaining pulp, as it can be used for other recipes such as cookies, baked desserts, bread making, salad dressings, and so on. Once the milk has been obtained, you can pour it into a container and store it in the fridge, where it will last for about 4 days. Remember to shake the container before using the milk, as some of the solids do tend to separate over time. If all went as planned, you should now have in front of you a smooth and delicious milk ready to be used as you please. The only thing I feel I should say now is enjoy.
Why don't we look at the list of ingredients and I'll walk you step by step on how to make it. You ready? Let's snap into action. Remember, to make good food, it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need any special tools. All you need is an idea, a dream, and a little bit of guts to just go for it. And I know that you can do it. From my heart to your kitchen. Arrivederci.
That looks good. Good.
Why don't you go ahead and have a taste?
Now let's see how we take this basic springboard idea and
it should have been ladies first. Oh, I guess it was. Okay, here I go. Washing my hands. I not only make delicious, wonderful, happening, fabulous meals from things we have in our cupboard, in our fridge, in our corner store in about half an hour or so.
This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor.
What's for Dinner is brought to you in part by Tefal Appliances and Cookware. Tefal, dedicated to lasting perfection.
What's for dinner? Let's take a look. What's for dinner? No time to cook. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? What's for dinner? A busy day. What's for dinner? It's time to play. What's for dinner? A friendly kitchen is all you need. It's quick and easy. Just wait and see. What's for dinner?
Hello and welcome to What's for Dinner, where every day we cook easy, delicious, wonderful meals in about half an hour. And today we have a really excellent show. I'm Mary Jo Eustace Kostick.
Exactly, we do.
Yes.
I'm Ken Kostick, and we really have a special show. We have the Egg Lady coming on.
I know the Egg Lady is
Yeah.
going to come on and give us
Yes.
some good tips about cooking with eggs and eggs' nutritional value and all about eggs.
That's
it's very
right.
exciting, isn't it?
What are you going to be doing?
Madam Uff, I call her. And she
Yes.
said that was fine. I'm going to be making a few things. I'm going to be making an egg vegetable casserole. I'm going to be doing a potato and spinach frittata, and we're going to be doing a seafood omelet.
Right.
So we have a lot of stuff to
We
do.
certainly do. We better get started.
We better get started.
Yes.
No time for chatty Cathy today. So if you want to pick up that pen, I'll give you the ingredients for this really excellent dish. This is for the potato and spinach frittata. You need 6 eggs, 1 small onion, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 1/4 cup table cream or low-fat sour cream, 2 cups of chopped spinach, 2 small potatoes cooked and chopped, 1/2 teaspoon of dry paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of dry oregano, 1/2 teaspoon thyme, 1/4 cup Parmesan cheese, and S&P to taste. Kenny, doesn't it sound wonderful?
It does. And you know what?
No.
This is a perfect dinner meal that you can have during the week.
Because it's hearty.
It's hearty. You have your potato. You have some spinach in there for your nutrients.
You have your
some
eggs.
carrot. Yes.
And the thing with the frittata, which is really cool as opposed to an omelet, like an omelet you have to flip.
Yeah,
Frittata,
let's see how I do that later.
Not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
There goes the wig, there goes the omelet. It's a whirl.
Everything.
But frittata you do in your oven in one pan, and it's
Right.
sort of like a quiche without a crust.
It is.
Can I say that?
A quiche without a crust.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we got to get working.
And you know, I had this in Italy. A
Did
friend
you?
of mine made that for
Was
me.
it delicious?
It was wonderful. wonderful.
Okay.
And we had it as an appetizer.
Perfect. Now, Kenny,
Yes.
I'm going to pass on this to you to prepare for our potato and spinach.
Right.
Is that okay,
That's
sweetie?
great. And you're going to start the casserole because that has to go in the oven,
Yeah,
right?
that
First.
makes sense, don't
Okay.
you think? Okay, so I've got my vegetables for my casserole, and if I saunter over here, I have a bit of an egg center over here. I've got in my center d'oeuf. Did you like that?
Yes.
I've got eggs and cheese and milk and my pan and some dried herbs, and I'm going to throw that all together after I saute my vegetables, put this in the oven. We're talking casserole.
We're talking casserole.
It's going to be great.
And we have to get that going.
Yes, I'm on it, sir.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I'm chopping up your spinach that you asked me to do.
Thank you very
Just
much,
so that
Kenny.
in the next segment, when the egg lady comes,
Yes.
Wendy Hebert
Oh, good for you.
Yes.
Yeah, she's going to come
from
in.
the Egg Producers Marketing Board.
Kenneth, what did you have for
Yes.
lunch today, sir? You're on top of it. No doubt. And she's going to come on and give us some good tips and dispel some rumors about
Yes,
eggs and,
yes,
and talk
that's right.
eggs, yolk and all,
Right.
isn't she?
Because I eat a lot of eggs, you know.
You do
And I
love
want to
eggs.
talk to her about that.
Why do you think that that's...
Well, no, I just, I eat about 5 to 7 eggs a week, and I poach them, and I just want to go over
you're
some
a healthy
tips.
little guy.
I am a healthy little
Full
guy.
of verve and whatnot.
Verve?
Verve. Full of verve and whatnot.
Okay.
Very active. So they must be good for you.
They are.
And I love them. My favorite meal is scrambled eggs and toast.
Really?
Yeah.
It was one of the first meals I ever cooked for my parents.
Really? When you
Yes.
were a little kid?
Eggs and ketchup.
16. How old were you when you made that first recipe? That's
I
very
was
sweet.
6.
Were you?
Yes.
Too adorable.
I showed you a picture of what I looked like when I
Yeah.
was 6. Spanky.
Spanky.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were 6 or 16. I wasn't quite clear on that point. Now, Wendy is from what the marketing?
The Egg Producers Marketing Board.
Right.
Yes.
Of
And,
Ontario.
Yeah.
That's going to be very interesting. Do you do a lot of baking?
You know
Kenny?
what? I don't. And I know that eggs are, a good filler for baking. And I want to ask her that question, too.
Yeah.
Why are they used a lot? For volume and for
Binding. They
Binding.
bind
Yeah.
very well.
Right.
And this is something very interesting, unless you'd like to take this away, because I think you're on top of this one.
I think so.
Go.
Make sure, in reference to eggs, when you store them in the fridge, that you don't store them near things like fish or onions because they absorb odors.
Pardon?
Absorb
They take
odors.
orders for what? Lunch, dinner?
Yeah,
No.
they absorb odors. Yeah.
Yes, and also, I didn't know this, but she told me that it is a good idea to keep your eggs in the carton, because
Yep.
I always take them out and put them in my eggshell.
That's right.
But she says you leave them in the carton, and you've got the date, so you know when they expire.
Because you can actually go past the expiry date.
Yeah.
But we'll have to
Yeah, we'll
ask her how many.
clarify.
Yeah.
But
how many
you're right. If you've got a stray egg in your fridge, it's going to end up smelling like what's beside it.
Yeah.
You don't want that, do you?
No.
Ken, I don't want that for my eggs.
There we
So
go.
how you been?
I've been very good.
You look great today.
Oh, thank you.
I
Thank
love when you wear unicolor.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's very slimming black.
Very
you see.
slimming, yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
just don't think it's a good idea to have like a floral bottom and a solid top, do you?
No. Well, I don't wear that very often.
No, not too often.
Now, the dogs.
Yeah.
Well, and I told you about Pearl's little mishap. Yes. Well, hopefully that'll make her be a little more sociable. She got bitten in the ear.
She got beat up at the park.
Yeah, 4 little stitches in her little ear.
Like mother, like daughter. Have you been scrapping it out at the park lately?
No.
I wouldn't want to hear that about you.
So she's going to have to behave.
Yeah, so she's quite feisty.
Yes.
She's full of verve.
And I told you at obedience school,
Failed.
got into trouble.
Really?
Well, she won't pay any attention.
I'm coming over.
She's like her master. Very low attention span.
I'm going
This
to
is
come over.
yours.
Yeah, but we're going to work on this dish together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
what
would
next?
you like? Yes.
Carrot, garlic,
And
onion,
we're gonna
potatoes.
Okay.
There you go.
So,
You could get started on
and then
that.
we'll be all ready for
Wendy.
Yeah. Now,
I asked her. She said she likes the egg lady or egg chick. It's a hip title, don't you think?
chick.
Egg chick. Maybe I should check with her on that
Oh,
one.
boy,
I
I
like
would-
it when people call me
yeah.
a chick.
Oh, you do?
I think it's a compliment. Don't you? Kenny?
Well, I'm very careful.
Yeah,
I'm very careful.
You gotta be.
Yes.
Is that a good size for a frittata, sir? I want to check with you.
I think so, but you're going to put that in the oven, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we remove this? I don't think so.
What are you
We're gonna
saying
have
to me?
Why don't we put the frittata, mix it in one of these
Very
meal
good,
already.
very
Yeah.
good idea. And I'm
Yeah.
going to saute my vegetables in here. You are so
I'm on top of it today.
Yeah, thank goodness I have you around.
Okay, when we were talking about dogs, did your dogs fail obedience school?
Actually, my dogs didn't have to go to obedience school. They were just so
Oh,
beautifully
no.
behaved.
Really? Oh.
Really? The
Really?
only incident I had was with Gus, and he ate a sparkly purse. One of my sparkly purses, and all he
I
left,
would worry about that. He's into sparkly purses.
and my pumps, and he had a little gold thing, and
Yeah.
all that was left from my purse was the handle. He paid for it, if you know what I mean, eating sparkles.
Oh,
That
yes.
taught him.
Yes.
That taught him a good lesson. And he ate the
Jeez.
newspaper a few times, but the younger one can get into trouble.
Yeah.
He-
I like how the younger one gets into trouble and blames it on the older one.
Yeah, that's how it should
Yeah.
be, don't you think?
That's what I do.
Yes, of course you do, dear. Now, I'm just going to saute these vegetables and get those going, and then I'm just going to stir in my eggs and my milk and my cheese,
Right.
and this baby's going to go in the oven. Oh, I love this casserole. It's a great recipe of yours, Kenny.
It is.
It's going to be yumbles.
And it's, as I said, it's a full course meal.
Full course meal.
Yep.
Your voice cracked. That means you're excited.
I am. I'm very excited about our guest coming.
I know. We'll
Yeah.
behave, of course. That's
Yes,
a given.
please, Mary Jo.
Yeah.
Be a good girl, okay?
I will. You too. You be a good girl too. Do you hear
I
me?
will. I
We've
will.
got to be nice to this lady. We're always nice to our guests, and we're going to keep things under control. Now, she wanted me to ask you a trivia question before we go to the break. This is from Wendy.
Exactly.
No. Wendy asked me to ask you, what is the technical term for egg white? I said, Wendy, he's not going to win the curlers on this one, but she said ask him.
You know what? I know it.
Do you know?
Yeah.
When we get back
I
from the
know
break, Mr. Kostick's going to answer the egg question.
Yeah.
See you
See you in a minute.
Hello and welcome back to What's for Dinner. I'm just sauteing my vegetables for my delicious egg casserole, and I've got these vegetables all beautiful and soft. Put them in my casserole dish, and I sprayed some non-stick low-fat cooking spray on the bottom. I'm going to march over there, put in my onions, put in my eggs. Oh dear, I got confused.
And get it in the oven.
Cheese and milk, yes. And before I do that, Kenneth
Yes,
Kostick,
yes.
I wanted to repeat my trivia question to you, sir.
Ooh.
What is the technical term for egg white?
The technical term for egg white is...
You're very demure today, very
I am.
soft, very
it
calm.
is, fluff.
That's your middle name, isn't it? No, it's albumin. Albumin.
I can't even pronounce that, let alone... How was I ever going to get that answer?
Well, you wouldn't,
I'm
dear.
going to have to talk to
Talk
Wendy
to
about
Wendy, because
that.
Wendy came up with that, not me.
Mary Jo, they got to be easier.
I just wanted to ask you what the yellow stuff was. I thought you could take that. Do you know what that is?
The yellow stuff? The yolk. So, I got one.
You got one, sweetie. That's so adorable.
Okay, what I'm doing here is I just wanted to remind of yours. I'm working on Mary Jo's spinach and potato frittata.
Frittata.
I've combined all of the ingredients, chopped them up, and I'm going to put this back here, and guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to introduce our guest.
Oh, can I put in my casserole first?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Kenny, what temperature, sweetie?
I would say 350 for 15 minutes.
You got it, Toyota.
Yeah.
There she goes.
So, I'd like to introduce Wendy Hebert from the Egg Producers Marketing Board.
All righta. It's our guest.
Come on in.
Go help her in, sweetie. Be a gentleman.
There we go. Hi,
Got a lot of
Wendy.
eggs
How
there.
are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Hi, Wendy. Nice to see you.
Nice to
Welcome
see
to our
you.
show.
Thank
I'll
you.
take those, honey.
Nice to see you.
I'll take your eggs. Okay.
Take my eggs.
Good boy.
There we go.
Oh, Wendy, beautiful basket
So
of
we're
eggs.
very excited about this show because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I eat about 5 to 7 eggs a week, and I just want to get the goods on eggs.
Eggs are good for you.
Yeah.
Eggs are great. And 5 to 7 eggs
a week is no problem. Eggs have lots of vitamins and minerals and a good source of high-quality protein, so to eat an egg a day is fine. No problem at all.
And you know what I do is I'm very concerned about the fat content. So I either poach them, or when I scramble my eggs, I scramble them in about a tablespoon of water or some soup stock.
Great idea.
And then I'm not using butter, oil, and
Now, how
combining
many
all of
calories
that.
per egg?
75.
Oh, that's nothing.
75 calories. No,
That's like a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
That's right.
And another good thing you were telling me, which I didn't know, is that you can freeze eggs, which
Yes,
is
you
a great
can.
idea.
Yeah, you don't want to freeze them in their shell
No.
because of
No.
course the shell will crack, but you
Right.
can.
And if they get near their expiry date, now you were talking a bit about that
Yeah.
they should be stored in the carton.
They should be stored in the carton, and of course on the carton you'll see the best before date is written on the end of the carton, so you'll know when they're best till, but you can keep them for 2 or 3 weeks after that,
Right.
no problem.
Really? Okay.
And they're
Because I
fine.
never know. I panic. I say a day after, I throw them out.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
do.
panic.
And you know, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is there seems to be a misconception about the color of the eggs, that brown eggs are healthier than the white ones.
You're right. There's no difference.
Is that true?
There, Wendy?
No, there's no difference. I
What's
guess they just look healthier, but there's no difference in taste or
No.
in nutritional quality.
Oh.
Pick me. Can I ask
Yes.
another question? You know when you go to a farm, and did you like that?
Yes.
When you get eggs that day, are they better tasting? Is there any difference when you get them fresh from the farm?
Some people say that there is a difference in taste, but really the eggs that you get in your store are there within 4 to 7 days
Oh,
of
that's
being
very
laid. So
quick.
yeah,
Really?
it is pretty
That's
quick.
a good tip. I'm going to start on my frittata. I'm going to make, we've got the casserole in the oven, and I'm going to do a frittata.
Great, sounds
So I
good.
got stuff to do, Wendy.
Yes.
I'm working on this show.
And you know what I'm going to do? Since I'm working on my seafood, what am I working on? Seafood omelet.
Yes.
I'm going to give you the ingredients that you require for the seafood omelet.
This is going to be a good one.
Get your pen, because here I come. 1/4 cup of low-fat sour cream, 4 to 6 eggs, half a teaspoon of dry thyme, half a teaspoon of dry basil, half a teaspoon of paprika, salt and pepper to taste, 6 jumbo shrimp, 1 small can of crab meat, or you could use fresh crab meat, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 2 small shallots, 2 celery stalks, and 2 tablespoons of butter, and half a cup of cream or non-fat yogurt.
Kenny?
Yes.
That was an excellent read.
Excellent.
That was a great read. We're doing egg jokes today, Wendy.
Yeah,
They're a
and
bit
it's-
immature.
It's very
good.
exciting.
It gets
You
us
bet.
through the day. You know how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh, see?
the egg lady. All right.
Okay. So I'm going to get my omelet going here.
Wendy, could I ask you to do a little work today? Is
Sure.
that okay?
What would you like me to do?
I'd like you to, if you don't mind, crack these eggs into my
Sure.
bowl. We want to see how an expert does
No
it.
way, there's
Oh,
nothing to it.
yes. And I'm going to do
Okay, and I'll just assist you.
eggs.
What do you? Kenny's talking to himself. Not a good sign, Wendy. What's wrong
Hey
here?
guys.
What's wrong?
What?
Wendy,
What is
try
this?
it again. Wendy, what's wrong with your egg?
I don't think that one works.
Wendy,
Oh,
that's
yeah, right.
fine. That's our egg
know
joke
what?
on what's for dinner.
You know what, Wendy? She did
Joke,
that to
guys.
me once.
Oh, it's a lame
Oh,
one.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is
10
not a
minutes
new
took him
joke.
to get the joke.
Yeah, I was
Wendy's
trying
on
to
the
figure it
ball.
out. Yeah.
Wendy's a bit on the ball.
There we go.
That was just a little joke we played. Okay.
Excuse me.
So you're going to whisk those for me, and I'm just going to put the spices onto my vegetables that I'm frying for our frittata. We'll get a frittata happening.
Sounds good.
Can't wait for dinner. Can you, Kenny?
No, I've added in my chopped celery, shallots, and the eggs, and I'm going to start mixing that now. And what we're going to do is we're going to mix in the crab meat with the Dijon mustard, and that goes in the center of the omelet. Oh. And the rest of the ingredients go in the whole omelet.
Wendy's a good whisker. Did you see this action
I
over
know,
here?
I know. I was
Did you-
watching that.
So you want to aerate the eggs,
That's
is that correct? Did
That's
you
right.
get that terminology?
Aerate.
Put
Yeah,
air
put
to make
air
them
into it,
fluffy.
aerate.
So I'm going to go over and get started on this delicious frittata. Now, Wendy, what's a nice accompaniment for eggs? If you're having them for dinner like an omelet, what do you suggest would be a good way to serve them? Or with
Salad,
what?
a salad of some sort. Yeah, bread of some sort, roll or bun. Fruit even is great. A fruit salad
a
would be
good
nice.
idea.
Or just piece of fruit.
Because eggs can be very substantial.
They can be very filling. that's
Especially if
right.
you have them for dinner. Now what I'm doing with the frittata is I'm just going to scramble the eggs a little bit, and I've done my vegetables in butter, and then I'm going to put on my spinach and my yogurt and my cheese, and we're going to finish this off in the broiler. And of course, if you wanted to make this recipe lower in fat, you could omit the sour cream. Well, what
Yes.
else would be a good idea, Ken?
You could omit the sour cream and put in more non-fat yogurt.
Yeah, or low-fat
Yeah.
sour cream. So
Yeah.
that's a good idea. Okay, here we go. Now, are eggs a very good thing, I would imagine, in a vegetarian diet? They would be
Yes.
a good thing to get into.
Yeah, they're a really good source of high-quality protein. And so can be used as an alternative to meats or poultry or
Right.
fish.
Because I don't
Yeah.
eat a lot of meat, so I really depend on eggs for the protein. Like I love omelets or scrambled eggs or frittatas, like we're doing today.
You know what I wanted to ask you? Baking. I don't bake a lot, but eggs are used in baking a lot.
Yeah,
for-
eggs are a key ingredient in baking, and they'd be used for to help form the structure of whatever it is that you're
Right.
baking, or to bind the ingredients together.
Thickening agent.
Thickening agent,
Oh,
that's right.
yeah,
Perfect.
That's right.
That makes
That's
sense.
great. Well, thank you, Wendy.
I'm frittata proud, and I think I should be.
Yes, and
Wendy,
I'm gonna
is this
get-
a good one?
Smells wonderful, too.
So I'm going to put it in the oven.
I'm going to get my omelet going, and we'll be back in a minute on What's for Dinner.
Exactly.
Talk more eggs.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome back to What's for Dinner. I've just added in the crab meat into my omelet. We've cooked it nicely. The shrimp was inside, and it's cooked along with the egg. And I'm just going to fold it over.
Kenny, it
And
smells
what are you doing?
magnificent.
Have you checked your frittata?
My frittata is really happening in my oven, and I'm chopping up some nice fresh parsley and chives for garnish. What do you think?
I think it's wonderful.
And of course, I wanted to reintroduce our guest,
Yes,
Wendy.
Wendy Hebert.
And she's helping us out today. Wendy, I'm going to pull out my casserole, and all this was some sautéed vegetables, eggs, and a bit of cheese and milk. Doesn't that look great?
It looks great.
So
Good
that's a
job.
nutritious dish, isn't
Very
it?
nutritious, yes.
And I also wanted to ask you, if people were curious about writing in for recipes that you recommend and tips, could they do that?
They can certainly do that, yeah. There's
great.
an egg producers marketing board in all the provinces in Canada, so they can write into their local one.
A telephone call away
great.
from being an
Yes.
expert on eggs.
And you know, we do, as I mentioned to you, we do a couple of egg issues. We're going to do a brunch issue.
Great.
A
Good.
show where
Issue.
we have eggs, and we use eggs in waffles, and
love
I can't wait to do
waffles.
that.
Are we doing waffles?
In our pajamas.
Are you? Oh
Yes.
dear.
Yes,
Really?
X-rated.
I'm going to wear my pig noir. What do you say? Save that for another show?
Yeah, I think I'll
Or which plate do you
hold
want,
my breath
sweetie?
for that one.
Do you want the green or the burgundy?
I'm going to go for the green.
Go for it.
Okay. It started to fall apart, so we just don't want to.
It's going to be delicious,
There
Kenny.
we go. And if it falls apart, it's not a big deal.
Don't
that
freak
happens.
out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Not that mine did. Look at my frittata, Wendy. I dare say it's perfect.
It's perfect.
That's enough for 4 people.
That's enough.
That omelet.
Yeah.
Huh?
And our
Great.
frittata, which sort of, what happens when you put it in the oven, it raises a bit and it gets a bit thicker. And it is,
Right.
it's like a quiche without a crust. So that's
And
gonna
if
be
you wanted
delicious.
to, you could do this on the stove. And what I do at home is I just put a plate on top, and it starts to cook. It keeps the heat in, like an oven, and it starts to cook and flattens it out.
Then you just flip it over. It's easy.
Flip
You
it
don't
over.
have to worry about getting it out of the pan and
That's
stuff
right.
like that.
That's right.
Exactly. So any final tips on eggs, Wendy, before we wrap up?
Maybe one last tip about making omelets that just
Right.
reminded me that if you do think your omelet isn't going to look good on the top, flip
Right.
it out so that the bottom is on top, and then
Oh.
any imperfections don't show.
Kenny,
Oh.
for next
Next
What,
time.
what'd you hit me for? Like it was my fault. But next time, we know.
We know.
Wendy gave us some expert
Oh,
advice.
turned it into scrambled eggs.
Perfect.
Right.
There
you
you
can
go.
always save a
Yes.
dish, can't
Yes,
you?
you certainly can.
So thanks so much, Wendy, for
Yes,
joining
thank
us.
you.
It was
It's
a
our
lot
pleasure.
of fun.
Yes, we'll have you on again on What's for Dinner.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Keep watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Amazon Prime, spedizioni veloci, illimitate e senza costi aggiuntivi su milioni di articoli, incluse le mazze da golf. Ma se vuoi le migliori battute, puoi usarlo anche per guardare The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, uno tra i tantissimi film e serie TV già inclusi nella tua iscrizione. Amazon Prime, ancora di più.
Il tutto si riduce sempre a due persone. La coppia divina. Uno vivrà e uno morirà.
Let's snap into action. Remember, to make good food, it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need any special tools. All you need is an idea, a dream, and a little bit of guts to just go for it. And I know that you can do it. From my heart to your kitchen. Arrivederci.
That looks good.
Why don't you go ahead and have a taste?
Now let's see how we take this basic springboard idea and see.
See, it should have been ladies first. Oh, I guess it was. Okay.